Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you live around the world. This is video number 3 in this quite condensed or perhaps dense version of videos. And, well, I've been going over the step-by-step method for drawing this specific style of dome and version of the style. There's the quad-based dome, the one where it has 4 points touching the ground, effectively. And I show a graphics-based method for drawing the dome. I think it's quite robust approach. It is not a geographic-based one, you could say, geometry-based one, I should say. But it's nonetheless very easy to follow if my explanations are as clear as I think they are for you. Now, they're clear in my head, but yeah, sometimes that's not a good thing. The point that we got to last time was where we had created the surface here. We changed it to a rectangle effective structure here. Same one here. And then, so I'll just bring up the layers. I'll put in the surfaces. And this one here. I'll move that. And what we did there was to rationalize the 4 triangles at this point so that they're symmetrical through the 2 axes of the rectangle. This one's not. That means that the struts are different. These 2 are the same, these 2 are the same, but they're not the same as these ones. Whereas here, all 4 struts are identical. Yay! 16 struts, 4 for here, 4 for each quadrant. That's got to be a good thing. It just rationalizes things a little bit more, in my mind. And it suits my end goals. The next thing we have to do, I'll remove is determine, which I have, and I'll get poor old Jeff out of the way for the moment. We have to determine what structure we're going to have. And in this case, I'm redrawing a previous drawing that I found a tiny little glitch in, and this is the result thus far, and if I find any glitches, I'll redraw it again. But we're going to go with 150 by 50 mil timber. Now, that has a peculiar requirement. It's not really, but any dimensional lumber that's 50 mils, it has, if you don't want the corners of the struts to bang into each other, nor do you want to trim them off, the struts need to be shortened by 70 millimeters each end. Could be a bit more, but if you want it less than that, well, you've got to trim where some of the struts, intersect each other, which we're trying to not do. The shortening is dependent upon the thickness of the strut. So if you decide to go with a thicker strut, say engineered lumber, which I think they go into 63 millimeters or something like that here in New Zealand, I can't recall. It's an odd number to my way of thinking. But if you go, the thicker you go, maybe even 75 mil, then you'd have to reduce the struts by that little bit extra if you don't want to have to miter them or adulterate a couple of them. So anyway, we are going to make an assumption that the struts are 50 mils thick and the shortening each end for our purposes is going to be 70 millimeters. So the easiest thing to do is to step through the first process. In fact, I'll do it on the side. It's the easiest one because they retain some of the axes lines of the program. I come down here 90 degrees off of this line here. Hopefully we can get there we go. Just about got it. The SketchUp drawing program will change the lines that we're creating here to purple, indicating a true 90-degree orientation to that line. It's not just went to do it. It's switching in and out. It's very, very glitchy in that regard, but yeah. So that's it there. Yeah, there we go. See here it switched in and out, and it was be telling, I know it's at 90 degrees at this stage, but I want to show you. Come on. Oh, there. Right there. Okay. God, that's why I'm saying it's glitchy. It is now 90 degrees to that line, so I can type in 150, and I know I've got it right. Generally, it's not quite as glitchy as that, but hey, you get that. I could, if I wished, draw the outline of the strut unshortened, but for brevity's sake, I'm going to come in here from that line, Oh, there we go. 70 mils. That was the purple line that I was aiming to get. And this one is always going to be vertical because it's the, well, how would you say? It is the correct orientation. This is why I came in here. So I'll come in here 70 mil. Anyway, you'll make sure, in fact, I just hit 2 buttons and I don't know whether it generated an errant measurement. Anyway, 70 mils. Right, cutting to the chase, David. Okay. Now I make an outline and we get that intersection straight away. And I can create that as a group, and that's the silhouette or the outline of the strut. Now we're going to repeat that for the next surface, and this is why I like using the honeycombs, because the honeycomb structure, my term for it, gives me the surface upon which the program likes to draw things. Now, ideally, I get it to go purple, but it's, oh, there we go. There we go. And we go 150. We come in here, 150. We come in there, 70. And we come in here. Anyway, that's 70. And I do the same thing there. And if you don't get an intersection, you know that this line is floating in space somewhere, and it sometimes does. I hides that fact. So we make that group. Now I've got 2 struts. I can replicate that on the other side, but it's probably prudent at this stage. Let's just get rid of that surface. It's prudent at this stage, or it's acceptable at this stage, simply to rotate around the axis 90 degrees and copy rid of those guides. So now if I hide that, I've got the outline of 4 of the struts. These are the only 2 that easily rotate, the outside ones. The next one's down, I'll reword that. There are surfaces that can rotate safely. The 2 that I've just done, and these 4 here can rotate easily. These 2 here can, but just have to make sure you do it through the right axis. I do that as well. These ones, not so much. They are handed and best drawn yourself. So we come down here and we'll put the guide in. And now is a good reason for what I was saying before. If you can force the program to show you what it's doing, oh, there we go, like that, you know you've got a little bit more assuredness that it is doing what you want. So I'm going to type in 150. And you can see how the guide disappears through that line. I know that was then correct. It's just something that I've picked up, to look for. I know that's correct. Sometimes you'll see the guide continuing on past that line. It means that it's drawn at 90 degrees, but in a different plane. So you've got to be a little bit careful about that. Just letting you know that there could be an issue. Come out there. Now we want to make sure we're parallel. So again, I would prefer to see the line turn purple. And I come out 70 mils. It's the amount that I'm shortening the strut, remember. quite often if you reference the line that you're going along and then pull out there we go, the program kind of says, oh, is that what you're wanting to do? And then does it for you. So intersection there, that's good. I see an intersection, yes. Sometimes it will give you just like a dot, end of element or end of line or something like that. But that's not really good enough. We actually want to see the intersection point if we can. Kind of the same, but different. In fact, we might. No, we'll get rid of the guides. We'll do one more. Come down here. See, as it's coming out and it goes purple, that's not saying it's in the right plane. It's 90 degrees, sure, but it's not 90 degrees in the direction that we want. See how the line can be seen up here? There, not good. There, good. So we want to see those two things. Draw a line like that. See whether we can get it to turn purple. Come on, do the right thing by me. I know that if I can get that line disappearing like I said, I've got it's 90 degrees. But I'm a little bit pedantic at this stage because of the little glitch that I inadvertently got. There we go. So now I type in 150. I like typing it in. Just a thing, but it'll serve you well. So that way there is 70. This one here, again, I want to make sure I get it right. I'm doing all the things that I can to ensure that it is. So 70. Intersection, yes, good. That's a good thing. There. And the beauty of doing this, you could actually, as I said, draw the strut outlines, which means you just intersect a parallel line with these lines here. That's good, but will you ever use it? And I'm going to suggest at this stage, no. So I'm just trying to strip back the process a little bit more, so it's easier. That line, that outline can be rotated because it is symmetrical with that one. This one, not. You can't swing that round to this side because, well, you can't. Without a lot of hoop jumping and etc. So one more, last one for this video. Make this one extra short. Come down here, hopefully 90 degrees, and it is 150 millimeters. Disappeared through that line there. Just a point of for drawing. I come out here, hopefully 90 degrees. Come on, generate. 90 degrees, so 70 millimeters I'm wanting. Same here. $70 millimeters. It is very subjective, that 70 millimeters, because you may well prefer to have the shortening as small as possible, and you're happy to trim. It's not much. Trim a bit of a corner off of the strut. However, that may be not what you're wanting, so that's what I'm doing. It's not what I want. So yeah. If you go with that 70 mil reduction and then you go with a narrower timber, then you've got no problem. There you go. I will carry on, and for the next video I'll have it done for you, ready. But I'll do the other struts. They are relatively easy. That one and that one are effectively the same, and well, they're definitely the same length. Let's just show you, just in case I'm wrong. That is 2121, 2121. There you go. Just to show also that that line there, strut, is 1652, 1652. There better be 1652, 1652. Yay! And that's why I like this rational or rationalisation of the strut lengths to allow us to have a more enjoyable experience in the workshop when we come to create them. 16 of these, done. There's some other things that I'm going to be looking at just as an experiment, and that is the different hubs. I know I've gone through that before. I've gone through the decision making. I do like the steel tubular hubs, but I'd more than likely make the tabbed hubs. So just saying. But the deeper you go in your strut choice, the more viable the tubular hub becomes. I'm not going to say better, I'm just saying more viable. It does permit the use of a double bolt being inserted into the strut itself for the use of, in conjunction with the steel hub. There may be benefits for that, and split hub choices become quite interesting for that assembly process as well. So I'll run the two models together, the steel tubular hub and the tabbed hub. Because of this reduction, the struts stay the same, whereas previously they were different for each version of hub choice. I will still continue to develop the no hub version, and there'll be two versions of that. So it's allowing people that have different preferences to choose which way they're going. It's all based upon this same base model. And why I made the comment in the last video that I could make the model even more accurate than it currently is, but we're talking about fractions of a millimetre. But we need as I say, the provenance or the where it came from to be able to be tracked back without any changes. The tiny little improvement I would have made would have stepped outside that idea, so not good. So when we go to do the other studies, could be said, for the other hubs and methods, it's all based upon this information here. So that and that alone is a reason for doing what I'm doing. Righty-ho, that's it. I've got a cup of tea brewing, so I better go grab it, hadn't I? Righty-ho, we'll see you later, and it'll be, what will it be? Number 4 will be coming up. This is number 3. Oh well, keep track of it. It'll be in the video title, so yeah. Okay, see you later now. Bye.